If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to rantandonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the Ron and Don Show, and we are back live in the Les Schwab studio.
What is up, Ron and Don Nation?
Hey, coming up on the Ron and Don Show, we'll finally get to it. We're going to talk about office space in Seattle. Could you convert that to living space? Seems like they're doing that in San Francisco. Also, the boys of fall. By the time you've heard this podcast episode, I think we already have one varsity game under our belts. I'm doing a little volunteering with the football team this year, so we'll talk about that. Before we talk about that, though, let's talk about this. Trying to get to a football game, trying to get to a baseball game, trying to get to a Kraken game, and trying to get to a concert, and driving through South Lake Union, because that's where you're going to have to drive through in order to get to any one of those events. Ron is here now because that's his neighborhood. That's where he lives. And this city of Seattle just did something spectacular that you really support.
Well, I'm trying to, I don't really support this. I'm trying to be open-minded and see if, I clearly could have a blind spot in my logic. I clearly don't know everything about everything. So I'm literally trying to understand.
Which is hard for you to say.
Which is hard for me to say.
Yep.
So as Don said, you've probably gone to an event, Bumbershoot, a Kraken game, something at the Seattle Center. So you know that you get off on the Mercer Street exit, which I did a little research. It's that stretch of downtown Seattle from the convention center to Mercer is the busiest stretch of I-5 in Washington State. So they estimate between 270,000 to 300,000 vehicles per day go through that stretch. And so what has happened is Seattle just recently took Westlake, which is the main road that intersects Mercer. It's the first main road that intersects Mercer. And they've taken it from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and they converted the 2 outer lanes to bus-only lanes. And so I put
Where are the buses?
I put a video of this on my social media. And so maybe I'm missing something. But when you have 300,000 vehicles a day potentially getting off on that exit, that's not on the exit, that's just on the freeway. But still, busiest spot in the state. How does it help anybody to reduce capacity on the main road by 50%? So I was thinking, so I don't know the answer to that.
And slow it. And it used to be 35 miles an hour. Everything in the city now is 25 miles an hour.
And so I was like, well, maybe
So slow it way down.
I was like, if they had a grand opening of a new light rail station at South Lake Union, which I think there should be, I was like, okay, that might make sense because then you'd want to be able to transfer to buses. If there was like a bus barn, there's a couple buildings down there that Paul Allen had owned that would make for great sort of bus depots. If it's like, okay, I've been to cities like Mexico City has dedicated bus lanes and it's phenomenal, but they're separate from the main road. So you don't take a lane from the main road. They made a separate bus system that is adjacent to the road, but you can't get a car in there. Like they're walled off.
There's a 6th Avenue South.
Yeah, well, no, not even like.
Or sorry, 7th Avenue South.
It's better than that. Like there's a literal one of those cement walls like you'd see in the freeway, and you have to go over a little footbridge to get to the bus stop, and then you're on a bus lane, and it doesn't matter what the traffic is. It's like a subway, but it's a bus lane. So so I'm trying to understand the logic here of the city of Seattle. I think it's just an all-out assault on anyone that owns a car. That they don't want you in your car, but they're not providing us enough opportunities to not be in our car. And I like mass transit. I take the bus. I ride on the train. I do that as much as I can. But there are times that, like in our business, you have to drive to a house. And so when you're coming back, what is the logic? What is the agenda? Especially when this is adjacent to South Lake Union that has a train that's in the street. You have bus lanes now in the street. You have a cycling lane there, a running sidewalk, parking. Like they've taken everything you could possibly take, and as they used to say when we lived in Texas, you're putting 5 pounds of crap or 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag. Mm-hmm. And they just, instead of going, you know what, we're going to blow out a couple parking spaces, or maybe we don't need, all of these amenities all the time, and we're going to keep our 2 lanes and put a bus lane. The solution is always to make it harder on cars.
Yeah. So why do you think they did it?
I don't know. I don't know who's driving this agenda. Again, and there's not even more buses.
Right.
Like it'd be one thing, or more bus stops.
Yeah.
If it was like that, I might get. If they're like, hey, if there's an all-out blitz of advertising, hey, we're creating more buses, more bus stops, more routes. You can now get from South Lake Union to Pike Place in 4 minutes. Or what? I haven't seen any of that. It's just, I think there's an agenda here of we want to push people towards mass transit, but it's at the expense of lanes. Like there's no infrastructure planned to do any of this. And I did see something in Spain that I've always daydreamed about. This is a little bit of a sideline. But when I go down Mercer, I'm like, why can't these cross streets, like that are just dinky cross streets, they're one lane, why can't they just go under Mercer? I was like, well, that doesn't seem too hard. And when I was in Spain, they do that in Madrid. I was like, oh my God, I've been dreaming of this for 30 years. So think about it. You're going, south on Republican or whatever those streets are over there. Why can't the street just go under the main street? And then you pop back up when you get to the other side. Like an underpass. And like it would solve a ton of it. So anyway, that's a sidebar. But instead of doing interesting things like that relieve pressure, we just keep putting more and more and more pressure. And we've talked to a lot of people in Ron and Don sit-downs in our real estate business. They're like, hey, I'm in Ording, I'm in Rainier, I'm in Auburn. I don't even go to the city even more. I love the Seahawks. I love the Mariners. I used to go to 5-6 games a year. I used to see concerts. Kenny Chesney would be in town. I'd go to the show. I don't even go anymore because it's such an assault to get into town easily that I just stay away. And that's sad.
And then talk about how one sailboat that starts out
Don't get me
during, let's say there's a
sailboats.
concert going on where the Kraken are going to play. And let's say the concert's going to be at 7:00. So now you have rush hour in South Lake Union because everybody's been asked to come back. And then it's a sunny day and you have bridges that are not in good shape. By University of Washington. And then you have the Fremont Bridge, and then you have the Ballard Bridge, and here comes one sailboat.
Be one guy with a glass of rosé that will open up. Like we can't have designated times when those bridges open. Like it's insane to me the way they do this. And then one last rant, and then I'll get off my old man Barca Lounger. We live in one of the top 5 technology cities in the world.
Is this going to be about timing of
the lights?
Yeah, the timing of the lights. This is a big.
How hard?
Ron was writing book, chapter 3, the timing of the lights.
I have vision systems in my phone.
Oh man.
I can go into a store, open up the Amazon app, and just shine the camera on something, and it'll tell me what it costs on 4 different marketplaces. We can't figure out how to time 6 traffic lights?
You think we could?
Like, we don't have a computer capabilities strong enough to go, maybe these lights should be timed. Maybe if there's 600 cars on this road and 0 cars on that road, just don't change the light.
Yeah.
Just leave it green for a little while longer. It boggles my mind that the city of Seattle continues to go, it's a good idea. Let's take away more. We need some parklets in front of these restaurants. Just take away another lane of traffic. And let people put their picnic table out there. Like it's insane. I think the amount of goodwill that you've lost with people that would spend real money. Like when you would have these couples come in from Gig Harbor and say, we're going to we might stay the night in Seattle. We're going to go to a restaurant. We're going to go to a show. Maybe we'll get a drink afterwards. We'll get a hotel room because we really want to see Barry Manilow. Like that would be a $500-$600 night, maybe more. For the city of Seattle, and many people are just not doing that anymore.
Yeah, and where to see this really show up is, let's say it's sometime in the fall, there is a concert going on, let's say there has been some rain, and you're getting off at Mercer. Well, now that sailboat that is causing all those bridges to go up, and it can just be one sailboat, right? It can be one guy on one sailboat. So legally, and you can read into this, the city of Seattle has to open those drawbridges for even one boat, and they don't have to wait. So now you have all these bridges going up, and then the traffic that's going down Mercer, which ultimately becomes 15th, you get locked, and it used to be 2 lanes, like you said, 2 lanes on both sides. Well, now those bridges are stopping people because it parallels kind of along the lake and the cut there around South Lake Union. It paralyzes all that traffic. So then what people try to do is go up onto Queen Anne Mountain and then come down the other side in order to get to the concert. And every street on Queen Anne Mountain, all the residential streets are all locked up too. And all you can do is just sit there sometime for hours. And now that they've taken... I could see maybe doing the bus routes at certain times, but they didn't do the bus routes during certain times.
24/7.
It's 24/7.
It sometimes takes me longer to get from my South Lake Union home to I-5, which is 1.2 miles, than it takes me then to go from the on-ramp to Kirkland.
Right.
It's longer to go the first 1.7 miles.
Yeah.
And so we've done a horrible job there. And again, I'm open to being wrong. If someone knows something about this, please contact me. It's not like I'm seeing bus after bus after bus cruise down Westlake and transport tens of thousands of people, and the trolley comes by with one guy on it in addition to the driver.
Yeah, we haven't seen the police down there patrolling since early COVID because a lot of their motor cycle cops went away. I bet they'll be down there patrolling, handing out tickets.
Yeah, of course.
Because people are going to jump on that bus line. So don't go anywhere. More on the other side. Hey, you guys, Ron and Don here from Les Schwab. You know, I got our new Les Schwab tires. You and I are going to do a Ron and Don sit down. We're going down I-5. Do you remember what happened? What was in the middle of the road?
I do. I don't remember what it was, but you hit something.
It was a tire.
Okay.
Yeah, I hit somebody else's tires. Luckily, I had my brand new tires on from Les Schwab. So nothing happened to the rig other than when this semi-tire went under my van. Where were we going? Probably 60, 65 miles an hour. I think is the speed limit. I'd never go over that. Next thing you know, my alignment was way off. So what I do, I called Eric over here at Les Schwab and Ballard, and I stopped in, and he said, hey, we'll get that fixed.
Yeah, I mean, they even checked it for free. The upside, proper alignment can mean better fuel economy, smoother handling, safer driving, and longer-lasting tires. Think your alignment might be off? Stop by Les Schwab for a free visual alignment check. Visit your local Les Schwab or book today at leschwab.com. That's leschwab.com.
If you have a friend that is ready to start their real estate journey, send them to ronanddonsitdown.com.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the Ron and Don Show. It's kind of interesting. I have an attorney and also my dentist are both down the Columbia Tower. So I have to go down the Columbia Tower every once in a while. And when I go down there, I noticed one time I accidentally got off on the wrong floor and I started looking around on that floor. I'm like, holy shiznit, there are no people on this floor. Come to find out, there's not a lot of businesses in the tower. And come to find out, there's a lot of businesses that left office space during COVID and have not come back. We've seen Amazon come back and some of that office space that they own, and we've also seen that on the east side as they continue to build. That's why real estate over on the east side is still out of hand because you have the Microsofts of the world and Amazon building their other campus over there because they just feel like they're a lot more friendly than they are here in head tax Seattle. So what say you? Because it looks like down in San Francisco, we're talking, in fact, to a client the other day that lived down in San Francisco. It feels like the city is being a bit reborn after COVID and after a lot of people walked away from that office space. One of the hardest things to figure out and reimagine, a building is not a building, right? And so something that has been built for a condo is different than something that's been built for apartments is different than
mixed use. Or
yeah,
whatever.
and the shell of the building may look the same, but what's going on in the guts of that building are very, very different. It's a different kind of build. There's been kind of this tipping point of, well, can we really go in and rebuild the guts of these buildings? And it seems like in San Francisco now, because real estate has gotten so expensive, it seems like they can, and they're off and running, and they're saying, hey, we're going to take this office space and convert it. Do you see that happening here in Seattle?
I don't know. There was a very interesting and well-researched article in the Seattle Times that says at 25 to 40% of commercial square footage in downtown Seattle is vacant right now. And so what they did is they went back and they said, this is what we think happened. The when COVID first started and we went into COVID, there became this surge of demand for stay-at-home stuff. And so Amazon and Apple and Google and all the Microsoft, everybody started hiring. They could not hire enough people because it's just surge of demand. And so developers put into the pipeline, we need more office space. Like it's gonna take us a couple of years to get these buildings built. And so you had all these things in the pipeline, and we see this if you look around and you remember right before COVID, there was 17, 20 cranes up all the time in downtown Seattle. So all those things were going up. And then I can count 3 new towers within 2 miles of where I live that are brand new builds. They're office space and there's no tenants in them. And then there's 3 other lots that are slated to go as soon as those are done. So we're gonna have 6 new mid-rise, commercial spaces with no tenants, and there's already 25 to 40% vacancy. And so they said that just now, I think you have a confluence of AI and people coming back to work, and the demand for these jobs has just plummeted. Another stat in that article they said is during the COVID times, there was like a 78% increase in hiring for those code writing jobs. Now it's negative. They're getting rid of those coding jobs. Just as an experiment earlier today, and I haven't tried it out yet, I asked my chat GPT, I said, can you write me an app? And it immediately started coding. I didn't even give it any parameters. Just from like my general profile that I've set up, it started writing me an app. And it said, copy and paste this into this piece of software and you've got an app. And I didn't have a chance to copy and paste it, but I was like, holy crap. This thing just wrote an app in the Apple Xcode with one line prompt. If I was Google and Amazon and all of these tech firms, like, what's better, to hire a kid that just graduated college and pay him $170,000 a year, or hire 10 of those, or hire one guy that's really good at ChatGPT that can write these code and then look over it? So I don't know. It seems like we have a housing shortage and an office glut, but to your point, maybe the government needs to step in and help pay for some of these retrofitting. Because if you're a developer and you just spent tens of millions of dollars, like let's say Dexter Yard, that has to be a $40-50 million project minimum. Nobody's in there.
Yeah, and so people understand. Think about an office building. Like when I go to my dentist and I say, hey, where's the bathroom? They always point toward the hall and you go to the bathroom. And even in big high rises now, there's a lock on it. So you punch in your code and then you go to the bathroom. And everybody on that floor is using that bathroom or the other bathroom, right? Or a unisex bathroom, whatever it is. When you want people, and there's also one panel on that floor. There's one panel per floor. So now let's say that you want people to live, work, and play in this space. You don't have the plumbing inside the building as of yet in order to drain all these bathtubs that you're going to put in, right? Or all these added sinks that you're going to put in.
There's one kitchenette per floor.
Or every condo that you put in there needs to have its own panel that makes that unit function. When you build a condo building, you're building a box, and then there's a box within that box, and that's what the people are buying. They're looking at the condo that they're buying and the condition of it, and then they're also looking at the building as it's. So talk to that to everyone a little bit about how we find out about the condition of the envelope of a building. Sometimes we have to go back and we have to look at meeting minutes, right?
Well, we're switching over to our real estate hats now. When you buy a condominium, the bigger ones will have what's called a reserve study. And that's where you go out and you hire a third party, and they come in and they do a study of the building. Because as you said, when you're a condo owner, you just own from the walls in, from the wallpaper in is what you own. And then you have a share ownership in the rest of the building. So if there's 100 units in the building and Don's over on the west side and you need a new roof in your part of the building, but I don't need a new roof on my side of the building, I still am paying whatever my share is for the roof, because the flip side is when my plumbing goes bad on this side of the building and yours didn't, you're going to pay your share of the plumbing repair for this side of the building. So that's what you're signing up for with a condo. But how do I know what your roof is like? I go to the reserve study, and I want to look at that reserve study and see what are the maintenance items. And they have a maintenance schedule in there and what they think the cost is going to be. And then you do a lot of math on can you afford it?
Yeah, and then you have to look at, okay, I'm paying an HOA, which what is it? What is an HOA?
Homeowners Association.
Yeah, and what does it typically pay for?
It's different for each building. Like sometimes it pays for utilities and internet and common area maintenance and all kinds of stuff. Other times you've got like concierge service and tennis courts and a rooftop pool and a climbing wall and all kinds of stuff.
And you're paying that every month.
Room.
Yeah, and for some people, the HOA bill every month could be as high as their mortgage bill, or it might be half of that. And the thing I think about is when you're buying this condo, what is the shape that it's in now, but everything needs maintenance. What is the maintenance it's going to need in the next 5-10 years? If your building needs a lot of maintenance, you're going to have a hard time selling that condo. We just sold the condo last year, and there was a reserve. What was the bill on that?
Special assessment was $96,000.
Yeah. So we had this high HOA, and on top of that, we had a special assessment that was owned by the person that owned this condo, is owed. And we had to go in and pay that off in order for anyone to have any interest in buying this condo.
Yeah, but then when it's done, like we say, oh, that's very expensive, and that's true. When it's done, this building is going to have a brand new pool. It's going to have brand new tennis courts, brand new concierge service, brand new shared spaces where you want to do a football watching party. You've got a beautiful room that seats 25 people with big screen TVs and a kitchen. And all you got to do is go down to the concierge and say, hey, I'd like to reserve that room for my son's football team to come over. And you've got that. So if you like those kind of amenities, it costs to have those kind of amenities.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting.
But to your point, to rack up a little bit, you have the nicest building. So like, you can have a building that's completely vacant, and it was a commercial building, and you walk by on the street and go, I would live there, but how do you live there when there's nothing built inside?
Yeah, yeah. You have to create all that inside, and it has to come to a tipping point where financially it makes sense for someone to do it, for a company to do it, unless, as you said, the federal government comes in and says we're going to subsidize
And
it.
I was just looking at a new high-rise downtown that just finished, the one with the cantilevered pool on the top. The upper floors of that are $2,000 a square foot. So $2,000 a square foot for the over $2.5 million condos in the city of Seattle on new builds.
I love it.
Obviously, when you're on the lower floors, they're a bargain at $1 million. But that's not affordable, and it's not something that most people can get into. But that's what, if you're being a developer and you're going to spend a bunch of money, you want to get the top of the market.
Yeah. All right. Hooters and football on the other side.
Thanks for being a part of the Ron and Don Nation. Subscribe to the Nation News at ronanddonsitdown.com. A behind-the-scenes look at everything Ron and Don.
All right, you guys, final segment of the Ron and Don Show. I want to thank everyone for listening, and don't forget to hit like and also hit subscribe, and then that way the Ron and Don Show drops into your mailbox all the time, right? As we head into the fall, more episodes, more excitement, more Ron and Don than ever before. So I know everyone's excited about that. Also with Matt off the mic. Let's talk about Hooters a little bit, and the fact that South Lake Union, we had a Hooters down there. It went away a long time ago, and they said because they're tearing down that part of South Lake Union, which was never torn down. They threw another business in there. Last time I checked, we had one in the south end and the north end. When you and I lived in Texas, though, because usually what happens with Hooters is
They filed for bankruptcy recently.
yeah, but there's a national. It's like any organization. You have McDonald's that are controlled nationally, and then you have McDonald's that are franchised. And my understanding was with the Hooters around here, they were franchised. And in Texas, they certainly were. And we would go there. I think there's 26 of them in Dallas, and it seemed like every Wednesday you and I were there.
Every single Hooters.
We're there at a Hooters, right? And I have to say, I didn't love the chicken because it always tasted like whatever the soap was that they were using to clean the wooden dishes. They had wooden dishes which absorbed the soap, and then they throw like a piece of boiled chicken on that. And then you could get a beer with a piece of ice in it that was kind of put like in a garbage bag and thrown in your beer, if you remember that. We had a lot of fun, though.
It was fun. I found this article to be super interesting that there are these two guys that are trying to revive Hooters. And so it went bankrupt. I believe that in the article they said there's around 100 restaurants at play here. One person wants to try to control 50 of them, and then the other firm, I think, is like an equity firm that wants to control the other 50. And so they're kind of going through this article talking about how do we rebrand this? How do we make, re-Hooterification, if you will, and bring this back into the
And how do you do it without being Cracker Barreled?
Right. How do you do it without being Cracker Barreled?
Yeah.
And I found it to be fascinating because I was like, okay, I thought about your son actually. It's like, okay, would Don's son in a couple years and his friend
Be
group,
thinking about Hooters? Yes. He's
would
going on 16. He thinks about them very much.
would they feel comfortable going into a Hooters restaurant? And would their friend group feel like this was an appropriate
Those
place?
outfits aren't outrageous anymore, though. The outfits that they wear compared to what you see on the internet and what kids are exposed to, it's not shocking. It seems very 1981. It's very tame.
It is tame compared to what's on the internet. But someone in this article was like, hey, man, I work in construction, and there used to be a Hooters by a job site, so we would go in there. He's like, always felt uncomfortable. He's like, I wouldn't choose to go into the Hooters. It was the only place we could get a decent lunch around this job site. And this is a younger guy. Mm-hmm. He's like, my generation, man, it's just we don't want to go in and objectify these women over lunch. Like, we get it if you're attractive, but it's not the vibe.
We get it if you're
attractive.
So we are allowed to objectify you if you're attractive.
No, I'm saying I said that. He didn't say that.
You think
He's
it's okay to objectify?
No, I don't. I'm saying that I wonder in this bid to revive Hooters if culturally there's still an appetite for Hooters. And maybe I'm being a left coast liberal, like maybe in Oklahoma City and Kansas and Dallas, like this will be just fine.
Hell, in Linwood, and when it was down in the South End, I don't know if they're still there. Those were all doing just fine, right?
Were they?
I think
they
so.
went bankrupt.
They were
Gentlemen, I checked Google Maps. There are 3 Hooters
Yeah.
in the Seattle-Tacoma area.
Linwood and South End.
And 1 in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all permanently closed.
Oh, they are. Okay.
No more.
Do you, be honest, would your son's friend, guys on the football team, would they like giggle and love Hooters, or would they go, oh, this is kind of awkward? This is
I don't
kinda
know.
mid.
I don't know if guys on the football team giggle. Maybe you should come to a practice. We'll see if they giggle. We'll throw some shoulder pads on
Maybe
you.
I'm
See how
overestimating.
much giggling there's going on.
Overestimate what the maturity
I
level
think
is.
what's happening though is like you look at Chipotle, which was failing, and then they did this big thing about rebranding and saving Chipotle. We saw the same thing with Red Lobster, and we see this 35-year-old wonder guy who I think saved Chipotle that also now came in and saved Red Lobster. And what they found out with Red Lobster is to relaunch, we can't do unlimited shrimp.
Right.
When we do unlimited shrimp, all our stores go bankrupt. So we can't do unlimited shrimp anymore. Where you and I used to write
If good cheddar biscuits are
the first Ron and Don shows. Remember where we go in
TGI
Bellevue?
Fridays.
No. We go to Chili's.
TGI Fridays.
We go to Chili's.
Okay.
We went to Chili's at Crossroads. We went to the Chili's Crossroads. Chili's is now rebranding as well. And we see Cracker Barrel tried to rebrand and it blew up in their face, or did it. Because now they're saying we're going back to the old trademark, the old Cracker Barrel ways. We've listened to our customers. And to the president's he jumped on board with don't change the logo. And then when they brought the logo back, he came out, congratulated them, said, you just got a bunch of, $1 billion free publicity. And they did get it. So I think sometimes when you're doing this and you bring it before the public and then you make the president mad and then he comes alongside you and gives you his blessing, it really seems to work in the MAGA world. And they say that people now are showing up at Cracker Barrel and they're supporting that.
Are they going
So,
to show up at Hooters though? Hooters Part 2.
I think so. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, so they're going to bring 100 back.
They're trying to bring 100 back. And so they're not gonna. One outlet or a couple individual franchises tried even shorter shorts like bikini bottoms.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not gonna go that route. It's gonna be the regular old shorts. And we're trying to keep it right down.
So it's not about the food or the service or the
they're
hospitality at
changing,
all. It's all about how long the shorts are.
I kid you not, this is what he said.
I think they're missing the message.
He goes, most of our sauces are butter based. We're going to upgrade to A butter, A grade butter. It's like, that's your feedback on the menu,
I don't
that
know.
we need A grade butter on the sauce.
Yeah.
When you say 100 Hooters, that's the number of restaurants or the number of Hooters?
Wow.
Hey, you guys. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We sure do appreciate it. If you need to find us, all you got to do is just reach out. There they go. Yeah. RonandDonSitDown.com if you need us. RonandDonSitDown.com. If you want to complain, just reach out to Matt on the mic. You can find Matt on the mic at AOL.MSN.oldschool.com.
Exactly.
Yeah, very good. Anyway, hey, you guys, also want to remind you, if you need to sit down with us as we head into kind of the fall season, a lot of people are thinking about buying and selling, not just now, but during the holidays or even selling next spring. Get in touch with us. It's never too early to meet, right?
Yeah, this would be a fantastic time to start that process. We have a couple projects right now going on for Q1 of 2026. It really does take that long sometimes to get your house cleared out, to get the deferred maintenance handled, to get a game plan together for where you're going to go next. Let's start that process now and just go to ronandonsitdown.com. We'll do a Zoom call with you and start that process ASAP.
Yeah. Q stands for quarter, Matt. Matt was wondering.
Q1.
He said,
Yes.
could you please explain Q1? That is quarter one. And then there's quarter 2 and 3 and 4 after that.
Well, yes, there's 4 quarters. And
Head up, shoulders back. We'll see you next time. You've been listening to the Ron and Don Show. All right.
Come on, tell them where it is. Tell them, Don.
On the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to the Ron and Don Show. Please hit subscribe.